in your mid-30s, that's like, okay, am I going to stay in that lane? And then it's going to be that lane until, or doing step-by-step a career in a big corporation until you get like 60. And you're like, okay, that doesn't seem like a super exciting plan. I had that idea. I got some positive feedback. I didn't want to start it on my own. I talked to him and said, I need somebody who can do all the tech because, I can't do it. And
it's a crazy world where your objective as CEO is be profitable as soon as possible, right? And their objective is, well, you've got to be 100x and not be profitable. We don't care that you're profitable, actually. That is changing. I think that is a very good time right now.
I started my career as a trainee working for BP, so like an oil company. In the end, I was just before we founded Hype1000. I was doing e-commerce acceleration for L'Oreal and business development in e-commerce for L'Oreal.
In terms of how your customers find you, so are there many customers that realize audio is the solution to this communication problem, or do you still need to kind of do this the work of the first,
like being a missionary, yeah.
BotTalk podcast.
So Max, hi, and thanks for joining. Thanks for joining this our podcast about startups, about the story, and take us all the way to the top. What is Hype1000?
So at Hype1000, we create audio solutions to give your company a voice. So we're on a mission to make corporate audio available for every company. And with Hypecast, this is our first product. We created a solution, a super simple corporate audio solution to integrate audio into your company's needs and setup. So this, like the main focus is B2B and B2E communications. And that's what we're doing. So we simplify corporate audio.
And in terms of your maybe ideal customer profile, what are the customers? How big are those corporates and so on?
So it really varies. So we have customers that have 70,000 employees and they're in the energy sector. We have companies that are in the healthcare and hospitality industry, and they do a B2B podcast for around 200 to 300 people. Then we have a consumer electronics company that does it for 6,000 people. So industries vary, and sizes of users vary. But if you want to come to a general rule, where we would recommend where this becomes interesting to think about corporate audio is for a company that is at least 1,000 to 2,000 employees and above. Below that, there's other ways to get your communication set up. You're in a small organization, so you don't want to overdo it. But a certain size of company makes sense. And then if you're if you're a company or in an industry that is very decentralized, where you have different locations, different offices. So if you're a communications agency, law firms, for example, retailers, those industries where you have a lot of people in very different location, where it's really important to be communicating and connecting to keep engagement and loyalty high. So that is the second criteria. And the third criteria is if you have very complex or information that is confidential. So pharma companies that, talk to doctors. When you're, an industrial production company that has very complex products and you want to, share that with, your sales teams. When you have complex communication going on, there it's also very relevant. So, if you have two of those three things in your organization, then it's something that you should definitely consider. And overall, like any company, we all know the issues that you have today with communicating better in an organization to keep employee engagement high, and with higher employee engagement, really, cutting down cost of, not understanding each other and improving revenue. Audio is always a great tool for companies to use and communicate better.
Yeah, tell me about it. But in terms of understanding maybe a bit of the need, so it's basically internal communication that was previously done with the memos and newsletters and kind of emails from management, and you guys try to convert it into the direction of audio, of an internal podcast, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. In a nutshell, that's what it is. But the way it started for me, so I was working for a big company, L'Oreal, and we were doing a podcast. So it's a matrix organization, multi-divisional, and many different marketing departments. So for many different brands, and we wanted to get the different departments sharing best practices faster and more efficiently. So we said, okay, let's do a CMO podcast, and then we share it with the organization. So the idea of audio as an easy but still like very approachable, very authentic, personal way of communication was very clear for an organization like L'Oreal. And then we got to the point that the distribution was kind of like lacking, because we would just upload an MP3 file into the internet, and then it was just be sitting there, and nobody would listen to it because you couldn't listen to it on your smartphone while you're traveling to work. That was pre-COVID, but still, like you couldn't listen to it. You wouldn't be able to play it or find it. And then if you tried any other solution, then it wouldn't be secure enough. And so, there were a lot of different barriers in the distribution and consumption part of it. And that's what we're trying to solve, because there's a lot of companies that understood that audio is a tool that can really improve internal communications. When it comes to remote workers, non-desk workers, communicating, faster, more emotional, more personal, more authentic. That's when audio is really helpful, because, not everybody wants to, be seen on a screen or get nervous doing that. But they know the emotion behind it when your voice comes into it, the tone, like listening to your CEO say something. So a lot of people understand that, and there's more companies understanding that now, and that they need to change their internal communications. And what we're doing is providing you with all the tools from recording to distribution to make it as easy and smooth as possible, so that it doesn't add work to your plate.
Okay, great. So this is kind of all-in-one solution. So all the way from production to the distribution, you streamline the whole process. So for the bigger companies, it's much easier to deal with that, and they don't need to kind of think about it. They just need to think about communicating with other people. In terms of maybe going a step back, you already mentioned how you came up with the idea. So you had yourself this issue. In terms of how your customers find you, so are there many customers that realize audio is the solution to this communication problem, or do you still need to kind of do this the work of the first,
like being a missionary, yeah, sort of, or like a prophet, sort of like that. But partly it's that. So when we started last year, it was the later stages of COVID. Like podcasts in general last year were like on such a rise. Like in 2020, 2021. We were seeing a peak in podcasting. Like everybody was starting a podcast. It like tripled in those years. It was also the time when Clubhouse got really big in Germany. So, there are a few things that put audio on the map, and afterwards, like LinkedIn, and it came with an audio feature, and Facebook came with an audio feature, and Twitter came with Spaces. So there was a lot going on, and that really helped us. But it is still, you have to, it's not like on everybody's, it's not top of mind for everybody. 20% of all companies do have internal podcasts. And when you talk about the top, like 20%, it's most likely the top 20 companies in the world. Or like the biggest companies. So like from VW to Siemens to Bosch to Deutsche Bank, you know, they all have internal podcasts. And then you see the solutions like, and they're quite good in content creation, and they have a lot of agencies that help them with that. But when it comes to the distribution, you see like solutions where they just send you the audio file via email. So, you know, that is still going on. And you see other solutions as well that are always like workarounds and make it difficult for people to really listen to it. So for most people, you hear that there's still a struggle of making that better. But what we're seeing now, and especially in 2022, there's more understanding now for companies that we need to change the ways we communicate, because we're now sort of post-COVID and we still going to stay in a hybrid work environment. The workplace is changing a lot. We see with the different crises going on that you have high turnover rates in companies. So the market, with all the crisis happening, it's always time for, you know, is always happening or it's always, you know, potential for change, and companies realizing that now that they need to change the ways they communicate with their employees in a digital world. And, you know, that puts audio on a map for a lot of people because it's easy, it's cheap, and it can be done very quickly. So now we're seeing more people coming up to us asking, so yeah, we're interested in audio. We just want to start and understand that it's not just a tool that you communicate via Spotify, but it's also a great tool that we can use for our internal communications. So it's coming up more, but we, you know, there's still stuff that we need to go through, and, you know, wherever we get the chance to talk about it, we do.
Great. Maybe talk more about the product itself. So recording studio, it's pretty straightforward. You build something that is maybe very easy to kind of set up and record. But what I'm interested in is distribution channels. So is it an app? Is it some kind of internal or hidden RSS feed? How do you solve the distribution problem?
Sure. But like, let me come back to the studio, because, you know, it's just one thing. It's just the recording is easy, and we're now, like, in January we're going to launch our studio, like the post-production feature, where we're going to have a text-based audio editing tool. So you can just edit the text. Yeah, kind of Descript, you know, like Descript what it does. That's what we're going to have. So, you know, we have to understand that people that going to use it might not have any knowledge about, you know, audio production. So that is a cool feature. So everything is based on, is it really simple for somebody to use? But on the distribution side, it's kind of yes to everything you said. So we're not very strict when it comes to distribution, because for a lot of companies, they already have an employee app. They already have some sort of intranet solution. So we don't want them to say, okay, now we need another app where you can just listen to your audio content. You can do it if you want to, because we have a mobile app that's available on Apple and Android. Or if you don't have a solution, you can use that one. We do have an API. So if you want to integrate our distribution channel and, you know, you don't want to build the whole infrastructure, we have it. And then you integrate it into your front end. Whatever it is, if it's your intranet, if it's a training platform, you can, you know, connect to our API, make it look like you want to have it to look, and then you can use that. And we're very strong on building plugin solutions. So for social intranets, for example, like Staffbase, Halo, and others, and Slack and Teams. So the one we started with is Halo. They're one of the big social intranet companies, and we created a plugin for them. So now if you want to start podcasting and upload it into your Halo app, then you can just use our plugin. It's super simple to install, just, you know, one click and you can start podcasting, and then it's integrated into the employee app that you have. So we want to make it, again, super simple, and, you know, that's how we built the distribution.
Great stuff. Maybe in terms of how you price your product. So what is the model behind it? Is it like user based? What is your thing?
I know a lot of companies do that, but, you know, when you come to a company that has 70, 80,000 employees, a model based on employees, and you say, like, even if you say like it's 50 cents per user, it doesn't make sense anymore. So, and then, you know, all the companies that do streaming and say like, we, you know, for every minute streaming, it's going to be like, I don't know, 0.0012 cents or something. And nobody knows what's going on. So you don't know the pricing. So what we do is you get unlimited streaming. You got a certain amount of user, and then or even unlimited users. So just based on the functionalities and features that you want. So do you want the automated transcripts? Do you want the production studio? Do you want it to be integrated somewhere? Do you want to use a plugin solution? Based on the additional features that you want, that's how the pricing varies. So
you have some kind of basis for like a monthly fee for the base, and then add-on products on top of it. Okay.
So and then really depending on the size of your company. So you know you can start on $5.99 a month. So that is, or yeah, that is like for smaller companies that want to try it out, you know, low entry barriers, and then you get, you know, or even, you know, it's like if you do it yearly, it's $5.49 a month. But if you do it in 2022, we have special offers for 2022. So, you know, get in touch and you get a special offer. And then, you get the hosting, you get $1,000 to streaming, which for companies that use that site is, you know, plenty. Then you get curated content, you get analytics, you get the Ashman dashboard, and you get a plugin. And then, you know, the different levels of support. And then, you know, for the big companies, they have very different kind of like needs and special needs and adaptations. And so, you know, they're in the enterprise pricing model. And, you know, for pros, you get a bit more features that you can get for like $8.99. So like pricing shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, and that is something maybe to add to the product. And we not just focus on create your own content that you can use, but we curate like existing content that you get out there, like the best marketing podcast, like the OMR podcast that people know, or, you know, I don't know, Masters of Scale from Reid Hoffman or something like that. If you think that is valuable content for your employees as an edutainment tool, we can curate it in, and then you can share it with your audiences as well. So you get very like focused different topics of like HR, or if you want to do like mindfulness stuff, or, you know, add in some meditations, whatever you want to do, and you haven't created, you can enrich it with curated content that we help you with select for your audience.
Great stuff. So in terms maybe in your company, so we talked about the product. I think it's very intuitive, and I'm very excited about like the whole niche that you actually trying to solve, because, you know, audio is big, but I think it's the real need in to be honest, in like corporate, especially in Europe, in corporate audio.
Yeah, maybe one number for that. So last year, a study by I forgot the name. Sorry. The study was done, I think by Gartner or something like that. Not 100% sure. I will check while I'm talking and tell you where the study is from, so that people believe me that I'm not just like making this up to sound good for us, you know. But over like 78% of employees would love to have an internal podcast, and they would love to hear from their bosses, right? So they want to hear a podcast from their boss. Oh, it was a Kantar study from 2021. So, you know, so like 78% of all employees are interested in hearing from company leaderships via podcast. So the need is there. And, you know, that's in the US. And then, you know, like 1, 2, 3 years later, you will have the same kind of things happening in Europe. So there's a big need by employees because audio is so easy. You know, you just put it on your ears. You can do whatever you want. Ride your bike, like take your kids to school, go for a jog, wherever, and then you can listen to the really important news. And, you know, that is something that is important for CEOs, like changing their mindsets. And, you know, I need to tell people what is going on. Like, why are they working for this organization? Because people are willing to put in effort, you know, and willing to identify with the company, especially the new generations of employees, the Gen Zs now coming into the workplace. They want to identify with, their leaders and their company. So authentic, personal, transparent communication becomes really important to identify with their organization. So I think, we're just on the verge of, audio becoming something that is not just a niche, but it can be at the core of your communications internally.
Yeah, great stuff. So in terms of your company, how big are you? Where are you based? What is your stage in terms of is it like a pre-seed round? Where are you at on the map?
So this July we just finished. So we're in September already, but it feels like just. In July, we closed our angel round. So we're now a team of 6. That's the core team. Then we have our angel that came in. It's 5 angels, and one is supporting us as a COO. And the other ones are people that worked in and built big communications agencies, and because they see the need as well, because they know all the clients and know all the issues when it comes to communications, and they're very supportive and they're very active angels. So the core team is 6, the broader team is 10, and then we got another development team that we can connect if we have a peak season. That is another 6 people. So if you would count everybody, it's around that work for us or with us or are in the wider family, it's probably about 20, which is a lot of fun. And you got to mention those people too, because they help you too. And so we finished the angel round, and we see where we're gonna head. So we're very happy with the setup. We're very happy with the angels that we have. And there is and now with the more and more clients coming in, let's see if we say we're gonna go this way and stay in that setup, or maybe look into the sector of private equity. But at the moment the whole topic of venture investment is kind of off the table, and we're very happy with that.
So you are so basically on the road to a self-sustainable company, right? On the road to
By the end of the year. So we started last year. By the end of this year, we want to be cash flow positive, and we're now it's looking very good. And maybe to answer the question where we're located. So we're a remote first company. Last week we had our first meeting with the whole team. So we did a team event and went baking and for dinner and stuff like that. But basically we're a remote company, headquarters in Münster. But everybody's all over the place, from New York to Koblenz.
Perfect. I wrote my PhD in Münster, so
okay, there you
go. About your background, so are you what is your background, and how did you come to this crazy world of startup?
Business student. I started my career as a trainee working for BP, so an oil company, and did my dual degree. So I worked with them, and I did my bachelor's degree in marketing and business. After that, I did my master's it was in Sweden, and was globalization, brands and consumption. It was a marketing based, strategy based master's degree, again in economics, so classic economics guy. And then I worked in a few different functions, in marketing, consulting. And in the end, I was just before we founded Hype1000. I was doing e-commerce acceleration for L'Oreal, and business development in e-commerce for L'Oreal. So I moved into the digital world of sales. Then that's my background. So generally something different, which now helps me in my position as a CEO with marketing, sales, and strategy, which I'm in charge of, and my co-founder Simon is in charge of all the tech stuff as the CTO. And I came to and we wanted to do something on our own, and that was the chance. And we've been like my co-founder and I, we're both 36 now. We said if we don't do it now, it's going to get tougher and tougher. The idea came up. I had that idea. I got some positive feedback. I didn't want to start it on my own. I talked to him and said, I need somebody who can do all the tech because, I can't do it. And, you would be ideal for it. And, he was also in a stage, where were you going to go next? So, when you're in your mid-30s, that's like, okay, am I going to stay in that lane? And then it's going to be that lane until, or doing step-by-step a career in a big corporation until you get like 60. And you're like, okay, that doesn't seem like a super exciting plan. And you always knew like, okay, I can reproduce it if I want to. And so what was the next logical step? For me, coming from a big organization, like the biggest beauty company in the world, like it's either you're going to go to somebody like Google or, Meta or Amazon. And that to me didn't feel like I want to do that. And then the other side of it is like, you're going to go and work in a startup and, working in a startup, then, I have some cool ideas. So then I can just start my own startup. So that's what we did. Yeah. But I was already doing some like consulting work and some private, like, hobby podcasting. So I had a, kind of like a small network and some background already. And yeah, and that's how we started the company. And I, it's like when it comes to business, it's probably the best decision I've ever made.
Okay, so perfect. Great, so much fun. Maybe in terms of like challenges, what are some of the things that you wish you knew before you started?
Oh, I don't like. It's not like I wish I knew what before I started. Maybe I wish I would have known the stuff I know now 10 years ago. Maybe it's that, like now you're like, we're not the youngest founders when you're like in your mid 30s, even though in university, you always see that like bell curve and it's always like 33, 34. That's like when most people like find their own companies. But I think with tech companies now and the internet and everything, founders are much younger. They're like in their mid 20s. I always think like when I was in my, like, it's so much easier. You're a student, you don't have a family, you haven't worked for a while and, have a decent salary that you feel like, oh no, I'm going to give that all up. And then I got to support a family and, with all that. So maybe having that knowledge 10 years ago, but then again, corporate audio wouldn't have worked 10 years ago. So I'm quite happy with the setup that it's in. And, I appreciate that, we both have like over 10 years of work experience, Simon and I. And that gives us, some confidence in the stuff that we do. It makes us more relaxed so we don't go, crazy or nervous over every difficult thing that's coming up on the horizon of all these challenges that you have, not having enough cash or, you need to grow, but, the client doesn't want to do it the way you want to do it. You want to start a marketing campaign, but, you don't have the budget yet. So you try something out, it doesn't work. All the things that from your, and you know that as well. But maybe the one thing that I didn't know actually is how the VC game works. And we spend a lot of time with that. And you feel like, okay, I'm building a cool product, I got everything in place that that should work and it's so exciting and it's something really new. And then you talk to like different types of VCs and they say like, no, it's not a case for us. And then you don't understand. You say it's a sound plan and it makes so much sense. Like, why isn't this the case for you? And then I came to the realization, a very good business case and a very good venture case are not necessarily the same thing. So a venture case to me, and I don't know, hopefully no VC listens to this, seems like a rigged kind of like stock market. You're just trying to find a cool story, invest in it, make it bigger, and and now you saw it this year that now they're going back to like, oh, we invested so much money, but we kind of want to see profits and profitability and all that kind of stuff. And we're building a business case where we say like, yeah, that is the same plan that we have in the beginning, and there's a few things that we've done where we don't understand how this works, but it's very different. Like the business case and finding a company than being an entrepreneur in a VC world. It sometimes seems like very, very different worlds that maybe not have that much in common. And we're very happy that we're on the business case side, because that is kind of like why we did it.
Yeah, definitely. We have the feeling as well. It is crazy. It's crazy world where your objective as CEO is be profitable as soon as possible, right? And their objective is, well, you've got to be 100x and not be profitable. We don't care that you're profitable. Actually, we want to sell you before you get profitable. But you have to grow like with a 100x acceleration. And I think that is changing. I think that is a very good time right now. It is changing, and especially in Europe, I think it is much more, should I say, healthier environment, becoming a healthy environment when VCs that we are now talking to are much more interested in, profitability and how is your plan for like long term than we used to talk like a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And that's quite interesting, and that's why we're very happy, with the and their stuff. They say like, like when you get investors, like we do part of our business is like I said before, we part of it is that we do consulting, because a lot of companies that we talk to, they say, yeah, it sounds interesting, but how do I start? And if we would listen to a lot of like investors, they would say, like I would need to tell them, go somewhere else, figure that out on your own, or ask somebody else. But, in our opinion, to build a long-lasting relationship, of course, we're going to help you do the first steps until you're able to do it on your own. And, and that is part of the consulting side of it. And now our investors, they all have built agencies, which is not a scalable business in the end, but it can be a very good business case. And to them, it's totally understandable that we're going to do some part of our product, not everything, but a part of what we do is the consulting side of it, which makes sense to them. And to them, it also makes sense, it doesn't matter if we're going to be really successful in 3, in 4, in 5, or in 6 years. They want to see that it works and that it grows, and that it, grows very like profitable and sustainable. That makes so much more sense. And that's why it kind of like related so much more with us, as like sort of like we're trying to be businessmen, not just like entrepreneurs. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's
be a real businessman and not be the Instagram entrepreneur. This is very important. So going back to consultancy, going back to consultancy, for us, it is the primal sales channel, to be honest. So we first need to educate our clients, and they pay us money to do so. and then you, after you've educated them in the market, then the obvious solution is to go to you, because you just told them the whole setup. So I totally agree that. And furthermore, I think for you as well as for us, we learn so much from talking to our clients in product development. We would never came up with features that we have right now if we hadn't talked to the clients.
Yeah, 100% agreed. So yeah, then that then kind of like that just then feels strange to say like, why wouldn't I do this? Because it makes so much sense. Because our development team, like our software development team, is really happy because they get all this valuable feedback. Like you said, and then we're still, and you too, because you're in a space that is also just becoming relevant enough for companies to go into, right? And in a few years, it's going to be the core for a lot of things that we see now. The text to speech solutions that you can see that are getting better and better and better. You need to educate people on it to make them understand, where does a text-to-speech solution make sense? Where doesn't it make sense? And it makes sense to get a real voice actor in it, how do you need to structure all this? So, of course, you need to do it. And if nobody does it, nobody will buy your product. So that is always the downside of, bringing something very new to a market. You have to kind of like make people understand. But Steve Jobs made everybody understand that we all need an iPhone, and that turned out quite well for Apple.
Yeah, agreed. On that note, I think that's the best note to finish the recording. Let's show our clients that they need an iPhone. Max, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure recording so much insights. I'm enjoying this every week. And yeah, if you guys are watching or listening, please subscribe. Where can people find your company and you and so on and so forth?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always available there. If you want to reach out, get in touch. You can find our company on LinkedIn as well. You can go to Hypecast.one. It's our product page. You can find us on Hype1000. So it's Hype and the number 1000.com if you want to. That's like the company behind it. On, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, you can find us. Feel free to reach out if you want to know anything about corporate audio or start your internal podcast. We're happy to help, or help you find the right people to work with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoy. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.